Hey guys, welcome back to my another video. On this video, we will be creating a search engine, and we're gonna try to clone, like basically mimic how like Google does, and we will even build the Google's related interface. So basically, it's a type of a clone video. So we will be using Google's API, which is Google's custom search API, on this video. So whatever you search here, it's the real data that you're getting. So let's say this is the deployed version. So if I type JavaScript, it will send me all of the links related to JavaScript, like how Google does, and everything should be similar to Google, and that's what we'll be building today. So the thing that the course outcomes from this specific video, you will learn how to use Google's custom search API, and you will also learn how to use Material UI, because most of the time we will be using Material UI components. And on top of that, we will be using styled components to style our project. And at the end, we will deploy our application on Heroku, so you will know about the deployment part too. So without further ado, let's get started on the video. So if you guys enjoy this kind of contents, please don't forget to give a thumbs up to the video and subscribe to the channel for many more contents like this. Alright, I'm gonna close this deployed version now, and with that we will be starting with the basic app that I created using Create React App script. So we're gonna start by installing the dependencies. Let's install the Material UI dependencies. So you want to go to Material UI docs, and on the installation tab you should see all of the packages that you want to install. So depending upon which package manager that you use, I use npm, so I'm going to copy that script. And on top of that, we also need another dependency from Material UI, which is for icon. So that's going to be mui/icons dash material. Excuse me. And then we will also install Axios. So that's the package that we will be using to fetch the data. And also we need serve package. So this is the package that we will be using before we deploy our code. And also we need a React router DOM. So this will help us to manage routes within our app. And I think, if I'm not wrong, these are all dependencies that we need. So let's go ahead and install those. So while that is installing, let's make a few changes on our index.css file. I'm gonna open this one here. So what I'm gonna do is over here, I'm gonna add a background color for our body. So the version that we will be working on for the Google clone will be the dark version. So that's why I think I grabbed this from by inspecting the Google. It's 202 and 124. Right now we have a little bit darker theme, so that's good. Let's close the terminal. So I think we're done there. Now I'm gonna start with making a change on index.js file. Over here, the only thing that we need to do is let's say once we deploy this code, later on we want to make the lighter version of this app, we can do that. So that's why I want to declare some global styles using theme provider from Material UI, so that it's going to be easier for us to let's say if we want to add a feature which toggles dark mode and light mode, we can easily do that. So let's do that. So I'm going to import theme provider from not emotion. I want to grab it from mui/material/styles. And I also want to grab the create theme function from there. Right now we're gonna declare a theme here. I'm going to cons theme equals to, we're going to use that create theme function that we imported, and over here you can pass an object and declare your theme. So let's say for my theme for body, I'm gonna have a for body, I can have like multiple properties, but I'm just gonna get like one property here. Depending upon your use case, you can put whatever you want here. So for now, I'm just gonna use the dark color, which is gonna be the equivalent of whatever the background color is right now, so that I can I don't have to write this code again on our style components. That's why I'm using this. So just to make sure all of these colors and all of the styles you put it over here are available across the app, since all of our app is going to be underneath this app component, right? So what we will do is we will wrap this app component with our theme provider. Oops. Let's go here, theme provider, and we want to grab this and then just put it right there. So now I think it's gonna complain. Alright, what's the issue? Oops, this shouldn't be outside. Should be right underneath here. Now what we get the error saying prop theme is marked as required in theme provider, but it is undefined. So the reason that that's happening is we didn't provide any props called theme, right? So now we need to do that. We can just do theme equals to whatever the theme you declare over here, you will just grab that and put it right there. Now the good thing about this is we can make a use of whatever the styles, the global styles, we put it here. It's going to be available across our app. Right, I think that should be it on our index.js file. So let's close that one. And for index.css, if I'm not wrong, I think we don't need to touch this file as well. Now I want to go to app.js file, and over here let's set up some routes before working on anything. First, I'm gonna import React from React. And then I'm going to import a few things from React Router DOM. So I'm going to import browser router as router, and then I'm going to import routes, and also I'm going to import route. All right, now what we will be doing is let's get rid of this this text right here. I'm gonna get rid of this class name as well, because we don't need to worry about that, because we're going to be using style components. And here, in order to create a route on your project, you will be grabbing this browser router. So we have declared our import as router, so we will be using that. So that should be on top level. Grab that router. And in order to have your routes, you want to have it underneath this routes package that you just imported. Copy that, paste it right there, and whatever is inside the routes, they are going to be in individual routes basically. So let's say I'm going to have a route for our home page. So you can provide a property called path, and the URL is going to be / because this is for the home page. And you can define a component for this specific route, which in this case is going to be inside the element, and you can pass the component here. Later on, I'm going to create a component called home. I'm just going to put it right there. So right now it's going to complain about saying home is not defined. So let's go to source and create a new folder called components. And inside the components, I'm going to create a file called home.js. I'm going to use RAFC snippet. So if you don't know how to get it, you want to go to extension and search for React. The first link right there is going to be ES7 React Redux snippet. So once you install that, you would be able to access those. All right, our component, home component is created. So I'm going to import that. I'm going to import home from components. Now our error should go away. As you can see, since we are on the home route, that component is rendering fine. Now I'm going to have one more route, which is going to be, its path is going to be equals to search. So that's the search page that we will be creating, / search, and the element is going to be I'm going to create a component called search space. It's going to complain it's not defined, so let's go to components again and create a new file called search space. That's it. I'm going to do RAFCE so to create the arrow function component. Go back here and I'm going to import that search space from component/search space. So I think that should be it in terms of like all of the routes. So let's test those out. So since we are in a home directory, it's rendering the home component. Now let's go to search. Once we do that, it renders the search space component. So our routes are working as expected. Right now, I think we are good on our app.js file too now. So now we want to go to, I think we can go to home.js file. So let's start working over here. All right, now inside the home component, we will be using our style components to create our styles. So within the components, let's create a file where we will put our styles later on. I'm gonna name it as home dot style.js. So this is where we will put all of our styles. All right, let's start writing some code on our home.js file. So basically this home.js file, it's gonna contain a header and it's gonna contain the search field. And once we type something in our input field and press enter, at that point we're gonna make an API call, and once we get the data from API call, we will route the user to search space. So that's how the flow of the UI will look like. All right, now since we know a little bit about like what is going on, let's start writing some code. So I'm gonna create a div over here. So I'm gonna name this as styled header container. Right now it's gonna say it's not defined, so let's go ahead and, because this is gonna be a style components later on, so I wanna go to so what do we want to do? So I want to go to basically on our style components file, and we're gonna create this component and export it over here. So let's go there, and here first we need to import a package from Material UI called style from MUI system. So once we do that, this is the package that we will be using to style it. Here let's do const, and what was the name that we keep? Style header container. Okay. The way to create a style component is you want to just do const and put the name of the component equals to, and call that function that we grabbed, and inside the parentheses you can provide the whatever the element HTML element you want. So right now we're trying to style div, so we'll just put div in there and put backticks in there. They are not regular quotes, they are backticks. And from here I'll just export it like regular, like export. All right, now once we do that, this thing should be available within all of our projects. So let's go ahead and import that and just paste it in there, and I want to grab that from home.style. All right, so now that error should go away, and we will still have the div for what what we had earlier. So now let's go to home.js file now, and I'm gonna have another div, but I'm gonna name it as styled header wrapper. This is gonna be the div element as well. So let's create those. Right now we don't have any styles over here, but we're gonna come back later on to add those styles. Equals to style, and this is gonna be a div as well. So let's do that, div, and then come back here. Let's export this. Come back here. Let's grab it here, so our error should go away. All right, now our header wrapper is done. So for our header, we're gonna have two different containers. One is going to be a header left, which will be somewhere over here, and the other one is going to be header right, which will be over here. So we're going to create a div to like hold those basically. So I'm going to create a component called styled header left, and since we don't have that one, let's come here and come back here. Let's add it to the export as well. So we also need to create that. Goes to style. Alright, now that error should go away. So we have our header left. So within this header left, we're gonna have a few links, which is gonna say about and store. So that's what the Google uses. So that we will be creating those components now. So I'll just import a link from React Router DOM. So that will help us to create a links on this left-hand panel. And the way to use our links is quite easy actually. So you're just gonna call that link, and within that you can pass the property of to. And so this is the place you will put where do you want to route the user once that link is clicked. For this case, I'm gonna say about, and inside that link you can put whatever the text you want. So it's gonna be about here. We're gonna have one more links over here, so I'm gonna copy that and put it right there. So in this case, this about is going to be store, and over here I'm just going to type store. Alright, now once our header left is done, I'm going to have a div for the header right. So I'm just going to name it as style header right. Right now this component is not defined, so let's import that from home.style, and let's create that. I'm just gonna copy this since this is gonna be the div as well, but I'm just gonna change the name to, oops, let me copy the name from here, come back here, change it there, and let's export it from here, so that way our errors will go away. Alright, is anything wrong? Right, why are not those things getting rendered? Okay, there they are. So we have about and store there. So within that header right, we're gonna have a couple of links for Gmail and images. So I'm just gonna copy a snippet of code here and just put it right there. So it's just basically the same thing that we're doing like about and store, just adding the link and adding those two fields in there. So after this link, there are a few icons and avatar on Google, so that's what we will be using. So for that to happen, I'm gonna grab few things from Material UI. So I'm gonna grab, hold on, so what else do I need? So I'm gonna need an avatar component from Material UI, and then I also need tooltip from Material UI, so that whenever the user hover over those, and we can show specific text. And beside that, we also need an icon button to wrap our icons, which is going to come from Material UI as well. And we will need one icon called apps icon. Alright, so I think that should be it. If anything is left out, I'm gonna grab it on later on. So right underneath this images link, I'm gonna like use that tooltip component that I just brought. So the way this tooltip component works is whatever the thing that you're trying to apply a tooltip, so you just basically wrap with this tooltip component. And over here you can provide a like title, which is going to be the whatever the text you want to show it on the UI. So for in this case, we will just do Google Apps. And underneath the tooltip, I'm gonna bring in that icon button that I brought. And inside that icon button, I'm gonna render the app icon. It's gonna be a self-closing tag. So if I save it, I see that icon right there with the tooltip called Google Apps. All right, our app icon. So in order to style this app icon, I can simply like create a style components and style it here. But there is another way to style material UI icon. So you can use SX prop. Over here, you can pass a do curly braces, and within that curly braces, you can pass a object. So over here, I'm just gonna say font size of 1.5 rem, and then I'm gonna provide a color. Let me copy the snippet of code for the color, because I inspected that from Google, so this is the closest that I could get for this icon. Right now, our icon is styled as well, so that's it. So after this tooltip right here, I'm gonna have another icon, not icon. I'm gonna have an avatar, and I'm gonna apply the tooltip there as well. Let's say tooltip, same thing, and let's provide a title. The title is going to be Google account, and here I'm going to bring that avatar component that I brought earlier. Avatar. Let's create that component, and I'm just gonna over here inside the avatar component you can type whatever the text you want or what you want to show it on the UI. So I'm just gonna do it as JP for JavaScript programmer. And this avatar, we're gonna style this avatar component with the SX prop as well. Let's pass the object, and I'm gonna copy the snippet of code and put it right there. So basically we're just saying height of 30 pixels, width of 30 pixels, border radius, background color, all of the normal stuff. All right, now, so we have our avatar, and then what else do we need? So style header wrapper. So now let's start by adding the Google image. So over here we're going to create a container again right underneath this header wrapper. So this is going to be the different thing than header. This is going to be the other container, because I think we are done with our header. We just need to style it later on. So I'm just going to create a component called what was it? It was a style logo container. So basically this is going to be the div element as well. So let's copy that and let's create that component on our style components. Come here. That's going to be the component, and we're going to use the similar thing because we are using div to style it. And once we do that, one thing left to do is export it from here. So that way our app won't error out. Alright, within this logo container, I'm going to use a image tag right here. I'm just going to say image. Let's provide a source. Source is going to be, you can just simply like go to Google and inspect the source, and that's what I did. And this is the source image that I got when you are using it on dark mode. As you can see, our image is there, and I'm going to provide a alt tag so that it won't complain. Alt is going to be Google-logo. Alright, now once we have that image, after this image we're going to have a div to hold our input element. And for that, we're going to create a new component called search input, and just render it like that. Now let's go to components, create that component. I'm going to go to search input.js. I'm going to use RAFCE again. Come back to home. Let's import that component. Import search input from /search input. So this is where we will put our text field to do the Google search basically. Alright, now we are almost done setting up our setting up this home component. You know what? I think we're done here. Now the only thing left to do is make those these ugly looking styles to like good looking styles. So I'm going to start by writing CSS for this style header container, which is going to be the wrapper basically. I'm just going to say display flex. Once I do that, everything will be pulled to row because by default the flex direction is row, but we don't want that. I'm going to change the flex direction to column. So once I do that, everything will be moved to column. And for the height, I'll say 100 view height, so basically the entire screen. Right now, let's go to style header wrapper. Let's add the CSS over here. I'm just gonna say, oops, let's come here. Yeah, I can say display flex as well, and justify content is gonna be space between, so that they have a good amount of space between them. So if I don't do this, let's say, let's cut this one. This was like this, like, because this is the container we're trying to style, right, where it has about, stores, email, those kind of stuff. So as soon as I put that thing there, because this about store, this component and this component are two different wrappers, right? So once, what Flexbox does is it like creates the spacing between them, and it pushes those things like far together. Right now I'm gonna have a padding of 6 pixels top and bottom, and 6 pixels for, you know what, we can just do 6 pixels just like that, because we're gonna use the same pixels padding for all directions. Now for the header left, let's start styling these header left components. Come back here, I'm gonna say display flex as well. You know what, let me copy the snippet of code, because we're just doing the similar flexbox stuff. I'm saying display flex, align item centers, and justify content space between. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to provide a flex value of null 0.1. So what this will do is it will make sure, like whatever the component that we're trying to style, it will take 1% of the entire available width or height. And right now, these are all of these are anchor tags, right? If we inspect, although we wrapped it inside the link, that's what link does right here. These are basically anchor tags. So right now they just look ugly, and let's style those anchor tags. So in the style components, if you want to try nesting, if you're trying to target specific elements, you can just type the name of the element, and within the curly braces you can add styles to those. For the styles, I'm just going to say display, so I can't type, I'm going to be inline block, and then I'm going to add padding and margin, 5 pixels of padding on all directions. For margin, top and bottom is going to be 0 pixels, right and left is going to be 5 pixels. And I'm going to grab a color. So this is the color that I inspected from Google. Once I do that, I see, like the color has been changed. But if you notice over here, we still see the underline, right? Because they are links, so we don't want that. So in order to get rid of the underline, what you want to do is you want to set text decoration to none. So that will make sure your underline will go away. And I'm gonna define a font size and font family, just like that. I like to use rem units for font sizes. Basically what rem is, it's like if you want to have a size of 16 pixels, I think that's about 1 rem. Yeah, and on every time if I use font size, I will use rem instead of pixels. But right now all of our style looks good, except like if we hover over it in the Google, you see like they are underlined once you hover over it. So we want to have that. So in order to have a hover property, we want to use ampersand a column and just to hover. What it means is whenever we hover over this anchor tag, we will run this CSS. I'm just going to say text decoration is equals to underline, so that whenever we hover over it, it will underline the text, just like that. And once I think we're done with our header left, so I think this portion is good. Now we're going to style the header right. And I'm going to copy a snippet of code for the display, like Flexbox property. I want to go to style header right. and right there paste that code in there. Display flex, align item center, and justify content space between. And I'm gonna say flex off 0.2, so that way within that layout just take the 20% of the space. And I'm also gonna have a padding of 8 pixels. Alright, now over here we have few links as well, so let's style those as earlier. I'm just going to use the anchor tag, and I'm going to have the similar styles, so I'm just going to copy paste a snippet of code. Just the same thing, display inline block, padding, those kind of stuff, and removing the text decoration, setting up the font size, font family, and setting up the hover over, so that way we show that underline whenever we hover over it. Alright, now let's style the logo container, which is going to be the container itself for this image. Over here we're going to say flex of 1, meaning like whatever the we're going to have to do display flex first. So the reason that I did like flex 1 is I want to make sure like whatever the available space is, you want to make sure you grab those. And once flex 1 is done, I'm going to do margin top of 10%, and then flex direction should be column. The reason that I did column is because whenever we have a search input field component ready, it will show up underneath this Google image. But right now, as you can see, this image is like pretty bad. Let's style that as well. Since this image is, if we go back here, we just style this, and this is the direct child of this component, so we can just nest our styles. I'm just going to target the image tag. I'm going to say height of 92 pixels, and then now it shrinked the height, but this image looks still bad. So in order to maintain the aspect ratio, I'm going to say object as fit contain, and now our Google image, it looks like quite good. Alright, I think we are done on home.style too now. Now we're gonna start looking into our search input component that we created earlier right here. So this is where we're gonna put our input fields and let the user like type on those input fields basically. Alright, so what do we want to have on our input field? So let's start by creating, so this div right here, right? I'm gonna get rid of it. Did we create a style components for this? Because we're gonna use style components for this one as well. So let's create one. Search input dot. Let's use the uppercase style.cs, and here I'm gonna import style from /system. I think that was the one. Yeah. And let's close this one. Let's go to search. Over here I'm gonna create a form so that every time user presses the enter, we can like do like some sort of actions. Let's change it to form, and let's get rid of this. And over here I'm gonna have a div called, this div is gonna be style input wrapper. So I'm gonna grab that from, we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna set up our like basic HTML first, and then we're gonna style it. We come from /search input style. So let's go back here. Input cons equals to styled. This is gonna be div as well. Backticks, and export that. Once we do that, our error should go away. Alright, oops, I didn't mean to do that. What the heck, what's going on? Alright, okay, now we're back. Alright, now we're gonna create a text field right over here. But if you notice on Google, they have like the search icon, so that's what we need. So I'm gonna copy a snippet of code to get the search icon basically. Or you know what, I think we're gonna have to style the search icon. So what I'll do is go to source input.style, and I'm gonna grab a source icon from there. And you can right now we style this div right here, right? But you can even style a material UI icon. So I'm gonna show you how. So I'm just gonna do const style search icon equals to, we're gonna call that style function again, but inside that you can directly pass the material UI component here. Okay, let's export this one. Come back here and copy this. Come back here. Let's save that one. And what we will be doing is we will just use that component, which is going to go right underneath this wrapper. Let's copy that. All right, once we save that, we see that search icon right here. Right now it doesn't have a good styles, but we can fix that later on. And here I'm going to have an input field. Input field, just like that. Once we do that, we see our input field there as well. Let's not worry about any on-change properties for now. We can fix that later on. All right, now right underneath that, what we will have is we're gonna have a mic icon basically. So we're gonna grab that from material UI as well. So we're gonna create a separate style component for that one. So I'm just gonna copy a snippet of code that imports that, just like that. And I'm gonna create a new style component here, const, which is gonna be styled mic icon. So we're gonna use that style component again and copy that and backticks, and let's copy that. Not on home.style. Come back here, and that's what we will be using right here. But before even using that, let's I wanna, like every time you hover over on that mic, you see a tooltip on Google, so that's what we will be using. So let's import the tooltip component from material UI. Let's copy that, and then so it goes right underneath that input field. It's going to do tooltip, and inside that we're gonna render that styled mic icon. And for the title, we will just say, what was the text? I think it says search by voice or something in Google. Nice. So if we hover over it, now we see search by voice tooltip right there. All right, now I think this middle portion, this wrapper portion is done. Style input wrapper. Now we're gonna have few buttons that we want to bring from material UI as well. So I'm gonna grab button from my material. So let's copy that button, and right under this input wrapper, I'm gonna create a component called style button container. So this is going to be the wrapper for our buttons. All right, let's import those. Let's go here. It's not button, so be style button container, and we're going to go to search input right here, and right underneath here, let's paste that style, and it's going to be a div element. And the only thing left to do is export this. Once we do that, our error should go away, but right now it doesn't do anything on the UI because we haven't added that button yet, so we can do that. Okay, right here I'm gonna create, we're gonna have two different buttons. One is gonna say Google search and the other one is gonna say I'm feeling lucky or whatever. The crap they put it on Google. Say button, and inside that button I'm just gonna say Google search, and then now we see that button, but that button looks bad. Let's fix that. In Material UI you can provide a variant for what kind of button that you want to have. We want to have outline button, and I'm going to provide a type of submit, so that way we're going to create a function later on submit function for the form element, so that way as soon as the user presses enter, we don't have to do anything. Now let's do one thing. I'm gonna copy the same thing again because we're gonna have another button too. For this one too, variant is gonna be outlined, but we don't need type submit property because this button won't do anything at all. But the text will say something like I think they use uppercase F on Google. Lucky. Yep. Alright, we have our button, and everything on this page regarding HTML should be good. Now let's style those. So let's start with the input wrapper. And let's create some spacing here. For the input wrapper, I'm gonna use the flexbox property. Just gonna do display flex, align item center, justify content center, so that it will push everything from that input container on the center. And right after that, I'm gonna have a height and width property. So I'm just saying let's take 75% of the available width and the height of 20 pixels. And I'm gonna have a few margin and padding properties here, so that we can provide some sort of spacing. And I'm going to provide a max width property. The reason for that is, let's say if you have giant screen, we don't want this input field to take like bunch of spaces, because right now we're saying take 75% of width, right? So let's say if you have a 51 inch, 52 inch, like a monitor, we don't want that big text field in there. That's why we added that. And also we want to have a border and border radius, just like that. So it created the border outside of that input element, but we can fix that later on. Right now it just looks ugly. As we did earlier for anchor tag, since our input field is the direct child of the input wrapper, which is right here, let's style that. I can just simply target input, because that's the HTML element, and I'm gonna say flex of 1, so that it takes most of the space within the container. Alright, now I'm gonna provide a background color, but I'm not gonna provide any sort of like a RGB or a hex value. So if you remember, we created the global styles right here, which is gonna be the dark color. Basically I want to use that one to match up with our theme. In order to use global styles on Material UI, is you want to use $sign and curly braces, so that you can insert JavaScript in there, and you can pass a function. For in this case, it's going to be an arrow function. You can just say props here and extract here something like props dot whatever you want, but you can even destructure the properties out of it. So within that arrow function, if you put one more curly braces, then you can extract theme props individually. So I'm trying to grab theme from it, and the way to grab that is going to be theme dot, and come back here, we said theme dot body, right? Let's go back here, theme dot body dot what is the property that we are trying to access from body, which is going to be dark color, just like that. Now our background matches the background of whatever we have. And right now, if we see it over here, what we want to have is it still has the border here. Well, we want to get rid of that. I'm just gonna say border of none here. That way the border goes away. And I'm gonna have font size and padding and the color of the cursor. Right here, the color of the cursor is still black. I want to make that white and have some sort of padding. Alright, now I think the only thing we left here is it doesn't have a border, but every time we click it, it displays this weird border. So in order to fix that, we're going to use the focus property like we did for hover. Basically, what it means is whenever this input field is in focus, set the outline width to 0. Once we save that, if we click here, it just works. It's in Google, and we even have the white color in there. Oops. Alright, now what else do we need to style? Let's style the search icon. So I grabbed this color from by inspecting Google for the search icon. That's the color we will be using. As you can see, the color is changed, and since the fonts, all of these are icons are like font itself, so you can specify the size by using the font size property. I'm gonna have 24 pixels. You know what? Let's do one thing. 24 is gonna be 1.5 rem. Alright, we will still see that icon, but since this icon, it doesn't have a hop, like cursor, like the cursor, like that button feel to it. So let's make that happen. So we want to say specify the property of cursor to pointer, so that way it will have some sort of like different user experience. Alright, now we can style the so we style the search icon, right? So let's style the mic icon too. So basically we're gonna have the same thing actually. I'm just gonna copy this code just like that, and our icon, mic icon, is done, and we even have the tooltip property. Now we want to style our button container, which is going to be the container over here. So let's start doing that. Alright, now what I'm going to have is I'm going to say display flex. It's not going to do anything right now. Everything is in the row already, so we don't see any changes. I'm going to say justify content off center, so that way it will push everything to the center. And I'm gonna have a padding so that I can push this element, have some sort of spacing on the top to 18 pixels. Alright, now what we're gonna do now is we're gonna start styling these buttons. Right now they look ugly, so since this button, if we go here at the direct style of the component that we're styling, we can just simply target those by saying button. Here I'm just gonna say so this is the property that I got from inspecting the Google. Now let's copy that. I'm just saying the minimum height text transform, meaning like not to like this text transform relates to like changing the casing within the button, so we want to make that inherit. And font size, font family, and background color, we're just doing those things. Right, we're gonna have a few more things. We want to change the color of the text present on the button. So once we do that, our button text has been changed, and we want to have a border of this color. Right now the border color looks bad. Once we change that, it looks good. And what we want to have is we want to have a padding and margin so that it looks good on the UI with some spacing in there. As soon as we do that, they are not squeezed up together. But if we hover over it, we still see this weird border, right? So what we need to do is we need to do ampersand colon hover property for that button. What I want to do is if we hover over it, I want to have a border of light gray and the border radius of 4 pixels. So that way now we don't have that weird looking like blue color on our hover. And with that, I think we're done styling this search input field. All right, let's close this index.cs file. Let's go back to search input. Now, what we want to do is let's start managing our states. So I'm going to bring a use state from React so that we can keep track of our input field. Use state. And here, let's declare that because, oops, not like that one. We're just gonna say search DOM. So this is the DOM, whatever the user is typing on the UI on that input field. Say search DOM, and we can say it as it's gonna be a use state, and it's gonna start with the empty string. Alright, now we have our state. I'm gonna come back here on the input field and set the value to it to be the search term. Once we do that, now I can't type anything on the input field. The reason is because once we set up the value on React, what you also need to do is you want to provide the onChange property. So what should happen whenever the user types in there? We're going to pass a callback function. We're going to pass a simple inline function here. The arrow function, which is going to take event, and all we need to do is just set the search term to e.target.value. So whatever the user types in within that input field, grab that one and put it inside the search term. So now we should be able to type here. Alright, now I think one thing left is we want to bring so the basic flow is, let's say if I type JavaScript and press enter, what should happen is we're going to run some sort of function that will redirect the user to this slash search page over here, and over here we're going to do like our API portion. So let's work on that one. So in order to navigate the like push the user to // or not / search route, we're going to have to bring use navigate from React router DOM. Let's copy that back here to do const navigate equals to use navigate. Now we can use this function to route the user. Now we want to have on submit functions to manage that enter press. Inside that on submit, I'm gonna simply say handle search. It's gonna complain we don't have that function yet, so let's declare that. Handle search, it's gonna take event. The first thing that we will do is e.prevent default. So this is to make sure every time the user presses enter, we don't refresh the screen. So if I type something and press enter, it doesn't do anything, like it doesn't refresh the screen. So let's see if we comment this code. Let me press enter. As you can see, like it refreshes the screen. Do that, it's gone. So we don't want to have that. Alright, once we do that, the only thing left to do is route the user to the search page. I'm just gonna say navigate, and then within that I'm gonna use backticks to insert JavaScript stuff here. I'm just gonna say search, so that should make sure my user will go to the search page. And I'm gonna also provide the search field here, which is gonna be, I'm gonna put a question mark and use $, curly braces, and I'm just gonna pass the search field in there. So that way our search field will go to URL itself, And once that happens, we can grab that search field before making an API call from the search component. So now, if I do Google and press enter, it will route the user to search page, and it will add that search term in there. All right, now I think we're good actually here. Oh, I think we need to have one more property. I think we missed one thing. So later on, if I come back here on this text field, right, we're going to use that on the search page as well. But for that to happen, we don't need these buttons on the search field. So we will need to render these buttons conditionally. So what we will do is on the search input component, we're going to create a props called show button, not create, like consume those. And this button container is going to depend upon that prop, whatever the prop we pass in. So it's going to come from prop. So let's go here. Let's go to the top. Over here, I'm just going to destructure it, and the show buttons is going to be false by default. And so what is the component that is calling? I think it's home. And here I'm just going to do show buttons equals to, oops, it should be inside curly braces. I think that's what we need. So right now it doesn't do anything, but you will see later on like why we are doing that. And also it doesn't do anything. We're not rendering conditionally, right? So how to make sure it is getting rendered conditionally? If we're gonna do that through CSS. So if we go back here, style button container, we have a display of flex, but we want to have this property conditionally. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that, like $, curly braces syntax. As you know, it can take function here. And I'm going to grab props from here. And within here, I'm just going to do props dot show buttons. So if that is true, then we want to have a flex property, else we will have none, meaning the display will be none. And just to make sure, we are grabbing this, sending this data to our style component from here, which is going to be show button, and that's the data we are trying to access it. As you can see, like this, style components are really powerful. You can pass props, you can pass like global theming and everything. All right, now I think we're almost set up to move on to our what was I gonna say? Search results. Now I think we're gonna go to search page actually. This is the one that gets rendered if I'm not wrong on the search. Yep, I think we're done here. So let's do Google. And we are in the search page, so this is the page we will be working on now. And let's go to search page over here, and while we are here, let's create a style component file for this one as well. Search page dot style.js, and I'm gonna import style from movie system. Right now, come back to search page. What else do we need here? Let's set up a plan. Over here, we're gonna have some sort of logo, Google logo, and we will have the input field where we can type on. We're gonna have a few icons here, and underneath that text field, we're gonna have a bunch of icons, and right underneath where we will show the search results. So that's the setup. Now let's do one thing. I'm gonna create a, over here, we're gonna say something like style header container. Right now we don't have that. Let's import that. We're gonna follow the same convention that we did earlier. It's gonna come from /search page.style. Right, let's go there. Const search page.style. It's gonna be a div as well. and here let's export that. Once we do that, our error should go away. All right, let's go back here, and within that we're gonna have a header container. This is styled search header. This is going to be a div element as well. Let's copy that, put it right there, come back here, const, and let's copy this snippet, copy this, and export it. We're just setting up our basic skeleton at this point like we did earlier. And within here I'm going to have a style component again called style header left. So this is going to be the left portion of our search header. Let's copy that, paste it right there, go back here, do the same thing, and copy that one. Now I'm going to copy this and export it from here so that our error goes away. Alright, let's go back to search page, and over here right underneath this left header left, right, I'm gonna have a link which is gonna relate to like the Google logo, which will act as a link. Every time you click on that Google link, we're gonna direct the user to the home page. So for that to happen, I'm gonna have to bring the link component from React Router DOM. Link from React Router DOM. Copy that link, and let's put that link in there, and within that link I'll provide the to property of slash, which is going to be the default page, and I'm gonna create so over here I'm gonna have an image tag. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna create a new style component to like render that logo. Right now we don't have that one. Let's come here, come back here, on style logo equals to style. This is not going to be a div, this is going to be an image tag. But let's export it from here. Errors should go away, but we do need our source and alt tag. So it's going to be the same image, just like that. Now we see that Google, but if we click that one, it will route us to the home page. That's why we added that link property. Just gonna say search again. All right, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a new component right underneath this link. This is gonna be another child of this header left. Basically what it's gonna do is it's gonna say that style header middle. This is gonna have the input fields. We're gonna come from here. Let's come back here, const, and we can copy this snippet. So this is gonna be a div. Copy that, just like that. Our error should go away. And within this div, I'm gonna have a search input. So the search input is gonna come from, let's grab that one actually. The search input is gonna be the search input that we created here, which is right there. I'm gonna grab search input from dot slash search input. Let's copy that, and it's gonna go right underneath here. And just like that, we have our text field. But if you notice, we had those buttons, right? But like they are not showing up over here. The reason is it's doing display none right now, because we didn't provide this show buttons prop, right? By default they are false. That's why they are not rendered on the screen. That's the reason I added that prop earlier, so that we can make a use of that component over here. And right underneath that search input, I'm gonna have a container that will hold a bunch of icons. I'm just gonna name it as a style sub options left. They're gonna contain a bunch of icons in there. Come from there, come back here, const. Let's grab that. It's gonna be a div as well, and let's copy that. Let's get rid of that duplicate equals to sign. Alright, sub options left. So that is our div container. Within here, we're gonna create a field called styled options, and that's going to be a div as well, and that is the main container, or like that parent container which will hold the icons. Say styled options like here. Yeah, this code is going to be a little bit messy when we come back because it has a bunch of things going on. And this is the thing that I want to grab. Let's copy that and export it from here. Alright, let's go back here. Within this style option, what I want to have is I want to have a icon which is going to be, hold on, what do I want to have? You know what, yeah, we want to have like bunch of icons. So right over here we want to have a search icon. So for that to bring it, we need to bring that source icon from material UI. That is the thing that we're gonna render underneath this style option, and it's gonna say search icon and just render it like that. And as you can see, we see that icon in there. And right underneath that, since the Google has a bunch of text and links beside those icons, we're gonna have a link property to it as well. Alright, so we're gonna have a bunch of things like similar to this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy a snippet of code where we will have a bunch of these things. Alright, now we're gonna see a bunch of errors. So we're grabbing a feed icon. So let's import that. Feed icon, local image icon. Let me see what are the icons that I need. You know what, let me grab everything from here. Okay, come back here. So these are the icons. I hope I'm not missing anything. As you can see, now they are all showing up. And let's see, let me double check. Basically it's doing the same thing. It's grabbing the icons and putting it inside the style options thing and adding the specific link to it. Let me go here. So I'm right on maps, so I think we still need few more stuff. Style options, right underneath that map we're gonna have one more icon with the link that is gonna be more. And now what you want to do is right underneath this style header left, you want to have a div called style header right, and this is going to contain a few components for the right hand side. Let me copy that, go back here, come back here, and it's going to be a div as well. Let's have backticks. Alright, now what do we want to have on that right hand side? I mean, if you want to refactor, you can create this as a separate component and pass it as a props, but I plan to choose to do it this way, but you can yeah, for sure you can make this code cleaner. Style header right, so we're gonna use that style options component again that we created earlier, and within here I also need, there's going to be a few settings related icon that I need, and I want to grab those from material UI. So I'm gonna use import. And grab tooltip, icon button, add movie dash material. Right now, what we want to have is on this right hand side, for this style option, I'm gonna grab a snippet of code. Oops, what did I do wrong? I have no idea why it freaked out as soon as I put in that code. Oops, it was missing this. Now it will go away. Now we're just importing this setting icon with the proper tooltip in there. And underneath this style option, I'm gonna grab one more or a couple of like snippets again. So this is gonna be for the app icon, and that will just say Google Apps. And right underneath that, I'm gonna have an avatar component. And we need to import that avatar. Let's copy that, come back here, let's import that. Now our errors should go away. We're just doing basic styling like we did earlier for our avatar. And once we do that, I think we are almost there. Only thing left to do is put some sort of like this search results underneath, but we're gonna do that later on once we let's style this. There are a bunch of things going on here. All right, let's go to search page.styled. On the search page header container, the top level div right here, we want to provide a couple of properties from Flexbox. It's going to be display flex and flex direction of column, which is going to stack its children across like on top of each other, not on the row. That's pretty much it in terms of the container logic. And we're going to go to this style search header, the whole container. We're going to apply the Flexbox property of display flex, align item center, justify content space between, so that they space out, they have a spacing in between them. All right, and I'm gonna have a width and height here. Width is going to be 100 view width and the height is going to be 140 pixels. And we want to provide a G index and position property to it. And so that way this header will be like sticky. And we want to have a border property. This is going to create a border right over there. Hold on, why this is getting squeezed up? Maybe it's related to image, so I think it should get fixed later on. So we're going to use the same property for our background color as well. We're going to use our own theme color, that was the dark color. Alright, now I think that's pretty much it. So let's style this logo. I don't know what's going on. Maybe this is related to the image property. Let's do a property of object feed contain, and let's have a height and margin. Alright, where did that image go? Alright, let's did we miss anything? Styled logo. Hold on. Style logo. Well, I think we missed something up, so I wonder why it's not showing up. So style logo, source icon. Let's inspect this. Source based or styled. Let me double check the style. So there's definitely something wrong going on. Display flex, base container, header, source base, debugging session, guys. So that's the top level div. And we come back here. This is the style we needed. Right? Object feet. If we don't do that, this image is gone entirely. Doesn't this link even work? Yeah, it does work. There is a link in there. Let's see what else we could mess it up. Style logo. Let's keep on styling. We will look into it. What's going on? Let's fix the other styles first. And we want to style now the style header left. Let's have a property of display flex, align item centers. Okay, it was squeezed up for some reason. Now I got like tripped what was going on. So now it's back. Alright, now I'm gonna apply a few nesting property here. The reason for that is to change the width of this input field, because this input field is coming from the different components. What I'm doing is right underneath this header left div, go to the inside div, form, go to the div below, and go to the input field and change the width. I think that should be it in terms of our style header left too. And for our style header, let's style these right icons too. Style header right. I'm gonna come back here. I'm gonna say display flex, align item center, and justify content flex end. And I'm gonna have a margin right so that it has a few spaces on the right hand side. It will bring this to a little bit to the left. Yep. And inside this container, right on the right hand side, I'm going to target these icons, and they are the SVC icons, and I'm going to change the color of those. So just by nesting. So now our color is changed as well. Alright, now what else? Let's style the sub options left. So they are, you know what, let's style the middle portion so that our top row will be done, and then we can style the left and the sub options basically. So for the styled header, what is the thing we're trying to style here? Style header middle. We're just going to apply the display flex property and the flex direction of column and the margin top so that it will have some sort of spacing on top. Once we do that, let's style the style options, style sub options left. We're going to apply display flex again here, right there, and I'm going to align the item centrally, and then justified content will be space between. And I'm going to apply 8 pixels of padding and 8 pixels of margin on all directions. And over here, these icons look, where did I go? These icons look nasty at this point. So we will just target the SVC property right there and just make a change to the color, font size, and margin right, so that they will have some sort of margin to the right before the text arrives. And as you know, these text are anchor tags. You can just simply target the anchor tags right there and have a property, a few properties regarding text decorations, font sizes, font map, family, margin, and the color. So this color I grabbed it from Google actually. And within this anchor tag, I'm going to add a property, which is going to be a hover property, so that we display the underline. What we can do is just do the text decoration property to underline. So now if we refresh and go back here, if we hover over it, you will see that underline thing. Right now, what is left here? Style header, style. Now the only thing left to do is to style these style options, which are the parent of its icons and its divs, right? So you want to go to search page.style and go to style options. It's gonna be display flex, and also align items of center, so that way they will align properly. And I'm gonna have a color property as well. It's gonna be this color right there. Right now they should be perfectly aligned with each other. So what else? We style, let's see if I'm missing anything. Style header, right? I think that should be it in terms of, this looks pretty good. All right, now let's go back to our search page now. So what we're going to do now is we want to start integrating our API. So basically when we come here and do JavaScript, when we search it, we want to fetch the data as soon as we land on this page. And once we fetch the data, we want to render those right underneath over here. So all of the components that we build are going to be sort of like the display components. We're going to have to create a separate component that will render all of our data. So what you want to do is now come right underneath this header, so that way whatever we put it over here is going to come underneath. This is going to be search results. Let's say if I do that, you will see search result will pop up here, right? That's where we will be putting our search results. Let's get rid of this. I'm going to use a curly braces, and I'm going to use a true property over here for conditional rendering until we figure out like how to do the conditional rendering. I'm going to create a component called search results and just save it. Right now it's going to complain because we don't have that component. Let's create one. Search results.js, refce, come back here, and I want to bring that one. Search results from search results. So once I save it, I will see the search results. So what do we want to do? We want to make a use of that data, right? So what we want to do is let's start integrating our API first. So once we get the data back from the response, we can start working on mapping those data out on the search results. All right, now what you want to do is for your API thing, you want to search for Google console on Google, and from there, once you reach the console, you want to search for custom search API. So that way you will land here. And in order to you're gonna have to do a couple of things to get set up. You wanna click on this get key. Don't worry about it. I will add the link for both of the things that you need to do on the description below. And based on how many projects you have, you wanna click on this drop down. And if you already have a project, or like you can just click that one and click on next. And if you don't have one, you can just simply create a new project and click next. And once you do that, you will get your API key, and you want to copy that key and store it somewhere safe. So that's the thing we need. That's the first thing. And the second thing is setting up your search engine. I have already set up mine, so I'm going to show you how to do yours. I'm going to add this link on the description as well. You want to go there and click on new search engine. Let's say, for example, I'm trying to search on google.com. You want to put that on the sites to search, and here you can change your name. And what I want to do is, let's say I want to search for, I'm doing it for YouTube. Just click here and go to create, and you want to click on get code. Oops, not this, not the one. Hold on, this is mine. Okay, now once you do that, you will see this edit search engine page, right? You want to click your whatever that you created earlier, and if you want to search for images, you want to toggle this on. And the most important thing is this search the entire web. You want to toggle that on. And once you do that, there is a field called search engine ID. You want to copy that to your clipboard, and you will need that key as well. And that's the only thing that you need in terms of making an API call. Now let's start implementing that. Before doing that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new file called .env. So basically this is going to be the environment variable file. I will put my keys over here. I would recommend you also doing that, so that you don't publicly publish your keys. And since I'm going to be publishing this code on GitHub, I'm just going to put the .env.sample file, so that way all of you guys will know what are the sample files that you need. I'm just going to copy a snippet and put it right there. So basically you want to have a field called this with your Google API key, and the field with this with your search engine key, and that's what we will be using in our app later on to pull the data from the environment variables. Right, I have already set up my keys and everything, so I'm just going to put it right there and close it so that I can make a use of it later on. We're going to create a custom hook to fetch our data. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to source directory, create not reveal, new folder. I'm going to create a folder called hooks, and within that hooks I'm going to create a file called use search.js. So every time you create a hook, you want to make sure you use the use keyword. So there are a few things we're going to need. One is going to be use effect, and one is going to be use state from React. And since we did we install Axios earlier? Okay, yeah, we did. We want to import Axios from Axios. That will be useful for our API call. Oh, you know what? Let me do a real quick git commit before setting up this. Do git add commit list home page and source header. Alright, now if I come back here, do this show you the base URL? I wanted to show you guys how to get the base URL. I think there is a property called try it. Yep, try this API. Yes, custom source. Yeah, right there. So once you do that try API, what you get is, I wanted to show you guys this. So this is the base URL that we need. A custom source, like the googleapis.com / custom source / v1. So that's going to be your base URL. So I'm going to grab that. The reason we need that is it's going to be the same for all of those. One thing will be different is going to be your API key and your search engine ID along with your query. Let's say const base underscore URL equals to, and I want to put that in there. Alright, now I'm going to have a API key, API underscore key, and it's going to come from, the way to access your .env files is process.env dot, let me copy a snippet. just like that. So that will give me my API key, and I'm going to do the same thing for my search engine key as well. And one thing to notice, if I use this key or like log this key right here, it's gonna say me undefined. The reason is every time you change your environment variables, you have to restart your server. So let's do that. And what else? I think we are in the point to start creating a custom hook actually. So let's do that. So the way to create a custom hook, if you haven't worked on it before, you're just gonna do like create like the regular function. Name of the hook should always start with use arc search, and it's gonna be a arrow function, just like that. And at the end, not return, export default users. That's it. So now you can write whatever you want over here, and this will be your custom hook. We're gonna bring a argument over here called search term. We will be using that as a query params. The reason I imported this use state hook earlier is because I want to store the data once I get it back. So const data equals to set data equals to use state, and it's gonna start with null. And right underneath this use state, I'm gonna have a use effect hook, which is gonna handle the data fetching, and it will have a dependency array that will be the search term, whatever the user passes within the search term. So every time the search term changes, we run this hook. Alright, now let's write a function. So we're gonna write a function called fetch data that will handle all of our like data fetching portion. So right now it's going to complain it's not defined, but that's fine. We're going to create that right now. So we're going to do const of fetch data. So we're writing a function body. It's going to be an asynchronous function and arrow function. Here we're going to use declare constant call const response equals to, we're going to use axios dot get. So this is the get request that we are doing, and as a first argument we're going to pass our request URL right along with all of the necessary things. So the first thing that goes under like on your request URL is your base URL, which is this, and then your API keys and so on. So I'm going to use $sign and curly braces so that I can have that base URL in there. Once I have that base URL, what it takes is it takes a question mark, and there is a property called key equals to, and that's where we will pass our API key, which is going to be right here. Once you pass your API key, you're going to have the ampersand sign, and there's a property called cx equals to, and that's where you will pass your search engine key. So come back here and search engine key right there. And once you pass your API key and search engine key, you're going to have to add ampersand again, and there's a string that you need to pass, which is going to be q equals to, and there you will pass whatever the thing that you're trying to search, and that's going to be the search term itself, right? So whatever the user types in within that input field, do $sign, curly braces, and search term. So once we do that, we should get, if the request was successful, we should get the data on our response, right? And on Axios, the data always stays on your response.data. So that's what we will be extracting. So since we created this set data, right, we can store that data on our use state value. Just going to call that set data, and that's going to be response. If there is a response, then data out of it. So we're doing optional chaining so that it does not error out if the data is missing for some reason. Alright, so now I think that's it. So after, the only thing left to do is after your use effect hook, you want to copy that data field and just return it from there, like an object syntax. That way, whenever we call this use search, we can destructure the data property. And I think that wraps up our custom hook. Yeah, people get make like custom hook really complicated, but like they are just a function, like it's this is to like regular stuff. It just makes like testing easier if you use the custom hook. So that's why I wanted to create one. So now what we want to do is, if we go back to search space, all right, now here what we do is we want to call because we want to pass that data to search results, right? And search results get rendered right here. So we want to make a call to that hook that we created. I'm going to come here, import use search from hooks, and then we're going to need a few things from React Router DOM too, but let's just worry about this custom hook for now. Let's come back here. I'm gonna say const. We're gonna destructure like one thing over here. The way to call your custom hook is gonna be use search, just like that. And the thing that you want to pass is the search term. It's gonna error out because we don't have that search term right now, but we're gonna create that very soon. The way to get the search term in this search space is through the URL, right? Because every time the user types something, we add it to the URL itself. So the way to get that one is you're gonna have to use the hook from React Router DOM. We're gonna grab that hook call use location. So this will help us to get the information from URL itself. Once you grab that URL, that hook, let's do this and let's make a call to that use location hook. What this will return is it will return an object with bunch of properties in it, and we are interested in search field, which is going to be like this question mark JavaScript here. All right, how do we extract the search term? We're going to use a string manipulation over here. I'm just going to say const search term equals to, I know that my data is in search field. Over there, what I'm going to do is if there is a search field, then I'm going to split it so that it creates a array out of it, and the property that I want to split based on is going to be question mark. So what happens if we split this question mark JavaScript and do a split based on question mark, it's going to have a two items in there, and our search term is going to be the JavaScript, right? So that's going to be stay on the second property, which is going to be the index of 1. So that should give me my search results. So just to make sure it works, I'm going to do a quick console.log and search term. If I do here, as you can see, it says JavaScript. We started making API calls too. I didn't even notice that. All right, now we have that data, and now every time we come here, it's going to make an API call to the Google right here. Now what I want to do is I want to grab this response, and I'm going to create a new file, because I don't want to keep on making API calls, right? Because the reason is they only allow 100 requests per day, so I want to be careful of what I'm using. So non-hooks, right underneath this the source, I'm going to create a new folder called mocks.js, and we will take this response as a reference in order to generate our search result. Mocks equals to, come over here, export default mocks, so that way we get access to all of our data. So now let's come back to search results, and here I'm going to import that mocks from dot slash mocks. And the way to use that is going to be, if I just do it, let's say if I comment that code out, right, and instead of, oops, no, I didn't mean to do that, do mocks, let's search for it. As you can see, now this is the response that we got earlier from Google when we typed the JavaScript, right? So that's what we will be using. And now instead of mocks, I want to do const data equals to mocks. So now our data field will contain mocks. The reason I'm assigning to data is because later on we just need to uncomment this one because we're going to pass this data as a prop. So let's do that. Come over here, search results, and I'm going to do data equals to data, just like that. Now we are ready to consume the data, and over here, instead of just true, I'm going to say if there is a data, then only face the search result. Right, it's working as expected. The reason to do that, oops, I don't know why it added those same columns. If there is a data, and the reason to do this is, let's say what if we don't have a data, then there is no point of like rendering the search results, right? That's why we did that. Let's create this, close this page. Now we want to go to search results. So this is the place where we will start doing like rendering stuff. All right, now what we want to do here is we're going to follow the similar pattern. I'm going to create a style components called search container or search results container. That is going to be div as well. So we want to create a new file called search results.style.js. Over here I'm going to import style from Movies as system, and const style container header, do style div, and export as an object, just like that. Let's close the search input. Let's close this bunch of junk. Search space, I don't think we need this one as well. So let's go back here, and I'm going to import that from /search results.styled. Alright, now inside this search result, we're gonna have a bunch of things that's coming from the this response that we will show. So we're gonna use a typography component from material UI. So let's grab that one first. Instead of regular like p tags and this kind of stuff, we're just gonna use a typography. Typography from UI material. And let's start working on that typography. So it's gonna be just like that. Here's the typography, and you can the way typography works is there is a property called variant. We're just trying to have a p tag, so let's just have p tag in there, and we can provide a component in there. The component is going to be a p tag as well, and inside the typography component you can pass the whatever the text that you want to have. I'm just going to say about, because that's the thing that Google shows on whenever you search something, and after that about, they have the number where they render, where they show how many results were found. So that's going to be in let me copy the snippet of code and right here, and I need to bring that data from there here with empty object as property. As you can see, it has a number over here, the place where I got that data is if I go to the data field, and there is a property called source information right here, and there is a property called formatted total results, and I grab that one. Alright, now once that is done, after that this said results, and after that results, what they also do is they also have a source time. So we want to grab the source time from, let me grab this code, and this source time is going to come from that same source information, and there's the source time field right there. I'm just extracting the data that we fetched earlier, and after that I'm going to have space and seconds. And once I do that, it provides the real time and the real value, whatever it's coming from the like the API from the Google's database. And I'm gonna have a few styling that I need to do for this typography, and I'm just gonna use a SX prop. And some of the things that I inspected from Google are the white space property, font family, and padding top, so that it will have some sort of spacing. And I'm going to have a font size and font color so that they look good on the UI. Right, just like that, this typographic, this thing is done. Now I'm going to use right after this typography component, I'm going to use map to render a few things. So I'm going to use curly braces, and where I'm going to map is these items right here. Within that response, there is an items array, and inside that we have a bunch of things that we need to show it as a search results. So I wanna go to data. If there is data, and if there is items, then I wanna map it, and I'm gonna provide an item there, and use the direct return so that I don't have to use the return statement. And here I'm gonna have a div again, but I'm gonna have a style component div. So let's create that one, and that's gonna come from, let's see here, let's go here, come back here, const like that, style div, and then come back here and export it so that it won't error out. And inside this search wrapper, since we're using map, let's add a key. And the key that I'm going to use is within the item there is a property called gas ID, I think. So we'll use that as a key. And now I'm going to have a div over here. We're not going to style it, we're just going to help it, make sure this is containerized. And within that we want to have a anchor tag basically, but we're going to make that a style component. It's going to be search results title. Oh, we don't have that one. Let's come back here and let's create one style component for that. As I mentioned, this is going to be a anchor tag. Now that error should go away. Within that search error title component, we're going to use a image tag if we have that one. So let me copy a snippet of code here, and I'll explain what's going on here in a second. Alright, so inside this item there is a property called page map. If I open that item, and right there is a property called page map, and this page map has a CSE underscore image property, which is an array. That's what we are checking, if the length is greater than 0, meaning if there is something in there. And if that is the case, then we're just grabbing the first item from there, just like this, and there is an image source in there, and that's what we will be using to render our image. And if this is not the case, then we don't bother like rendering the image at all. We're just using conditional rendering. And now after that is done, we're gonna have a typography component again. Right underneath this image, I'm gonna have a typography with the p tag in it, with this color, to show these URLs. Color, and which is just the display link that I got from the item. Alright, search page title. Okay, right underneath that, I'm gonna have another anchor tag right underneath this result title, but it's gonna be a style component as well. Let's create one. Oh, did we already had that? Oh, okay, nice. So we're just gonna make a use of the same one then. Okay, that's fine. And oh, hold on, I forgot to add the anchor tag here on the href property, because this will have a property of item.link. So now this link over here will act as an anchor tag. Sweet. Now where are we? So we're on a search result title, and we're gonna have to provide a link for this one as well. So I'm gonna copy a snippet for href. It's gonna grab the link from item.link as well. So within this, I'm gonna have a typography again with the h3 variant. So what this will render, it will render the title of the search field basically, and it's gonna come from item.title. Right underneath this search title, I'm gonna have a typography with the variant of body1. So what this will do is, there is a property called snippet, basically the small explanation with the basic truncates and like text truncates going on. We're just rendering that on the UI with the proper styling, which is basically changing font size, font family, and margin. Alright, now I think we need an icon button from Material UI. I think this one icon on the right, somewhere over here. So let's do that. So what you want to do is, so this is the typography, that's the div closed. Right underneath this div, before the search results wrapper, I want to have another div. This is not going to be a style components, but rather just the placeholder container. I'm going to bring that icon button component, and within that I'm going to have a icon render. So the icon is going to be a vertical ellipsis icon. Oh, not this icon. This icon right here. Let's copy that and let's put it right there. It's going to be a self-closing one, and let's add a few. I'm going to copy a snippet for that font size. Once we do that, our icon is right there. So right now it's over here. It will come back on row once we style it. And I think that's pretty much it in terms of basic setup that we need. Alright, right now it just looks bad. We're gonna fix that now. Let's go to search results dot style file, and for the search results container, right here, let's start by styling the container. So I'm gonna have max width and a few margin properties, so that way it will align a little bit to the right. I'm gonna have a top property and position fixed property. So now I'm gonna have a bottom, width, and height property. So I'm just saying width should be 100 view width and height should be 100 view height. And for overflow, y, basically the y-axis overflow, we're gonna have a scroll. And For the overflow X, it's going to be hidden, and for the scroll bar, as you can see, if we don't do this, what's going to happen is it will swap that scroll bar. But we don't want that. That just looks ugly on the UI, so we want to say display of none for the scroll bar. So that way we will still have the scroll property, but without the scroll bar. And as you can see, all of this position fixed and all of this top label property, I applied that so that every time we scroll, it goes right underneath this header. It does not, like overlap. And our container is done. Now we're gonna style the wrapper, or search results wrapper. We're gonna come here, and I'm gonna say display flex align item center and justify content space between. All right, now I want to add a margin. So our margin would be top and bottom 48 pixels, left and right 0 pixels. All right, now let's start fixing these anchor tags now. Oh, you know what, this image looks bad. Let's fix this image too. I think, where did we create the image? Image right there, right? Search results wrapper. Search results wrapper. So is it under search results title? Okay, it's under search results title. So it's once we start styling these anchor tags, our issues should, like regarding image, so we should be able to fix it as well. So I want to do text decoration of none, so that it does not show up the underline property. And within there, I'm gonna target the image property and just do object feet of contain height and width of 24 pixels. So that way it will just show the images on top of each other. As you can see, it started looking like good already. And we want to do margin right for that image to 10 pixels. And now the only thing left to do is on this anchor tag, whenever we hover, we want to do text decoration of underline and this color right there. As you can see, we see that underline property now. Nice. And if we do search, it's going to show the JavaScript thing because that's the thing we used earlier. All right, now what else do we have left? I think then that's it, if I'm not wrong. The only thing left to do now is let's get rid of this console log. And what do we want to do? Let's remove this so that we use the real data. Let's remove this mocks. We're gonna come back here. Let's do a quick search. What do I want to search? Visual Studio Code. Did it work? Wow. What happened? All right, let's see. Code. All right, it works. I don't know what happened earlier. Where are we logging this value? I don't know why my browser is running really slow. JavaScript. There is something going on here. If there is data, let's look over it. Let's do this double quote so that it renders. For some reason it's making a call but it's not showing up on the UI. Let's open it in the new browser. Let's look over it. Well, there is definitely something going on then. We extract the data, and then let's see here. Let me do the real quick search. What's going on? Data, we render it on the search results. We send that data. And we are grabbing this data from here. And the search result. There's a property with search results at all. Did we mess up the hooks portion? It's making a call, so that's good. It's not just rendering it on the UI. So I'm just going to pause the video for a second and I'll be right back. Hey guys, so I managed to find the issue. So it was on our custom hooks. We forgot to add the await keyword here. So it was like that earlier. So every time we do that, it comes as undefined. So we just need to add a await keyword here. Yeah, that was it. Now once we do that, everything should be working as is. So let me get rid of that console log. I added that to check if we did something wrong. Now if I do Udemy, right, for example, I will get all of the things related to Udemy. So that was it. Right now I think we are ready to deploy actually. I'm sorry about that. I missed that. I did that stupid mistake. Before that, let me quickly commit this code, and we're gonna start working on deployment part. Git status git add commit c wrapped up Google clone. Now I want to go to GitHub and I'm gonna create a new repository. You guys can check it out if you want. Now I'm gonna say Google clone v2 public create repository. And since I have already created the repository locally, I'm just going to copy that snippet and push that code in there. That should have all of the things, and it even has the environment sample, so that you guys just need to create an environment variable file and just make a change to these in that file. Right now we are ready to deploy. So before even deploying, so I want to make a few changes. I want to go to, let's close all of this, and let's stop the server as well. Did we install server package? Search for server. Okay, so this is the package that we will be using. So this is the package that's going to run on our server, and we're going to make a slight adjustment to our scripts. So for the start script, I'm just going to change this to dev. So this is what we will be using if we are running it locally. And I want to add a start script here, which is just going to say serve -s build. So what this will do is it will serve the static build basically. Now if we do npm, before that let's commit this code, git add git commit message change start script to git push. Alright, now what I want to do is I want to go to Heroku now so that we can create an app and work on deployment. And this is the Heroku dashboard. What you want to do is create a new app, and over here you want to create a unique name, basically React search engine. Is that nope? Google. Okay, React search engine Google. So you want to click on, I will select the United States because I'm right here. So let's just create an app. Hold on. App limit of 5 unverified accounts. Delete some apps. Okay, you know what? I didn't know that they had it. Let's just get rid of this. I'm gonna go to settings, delete app, to renting property. I didn't know that they had the limit, and I'm a verified account owner. I don't know why that was the case. Okay, let's try it again. Search engine React Google. Okay, create app. Now this will be, you will be prompted with this screen. So there are two ways you can deploy it. You can deploy it through GitHub. I have already connected my GitHub account. You can just search the repo name, which in this case is going to be google-clone-youtube. Google-clone-youtube. If I search for that, it's going to find that repo, and if I do connect, it's going to deploy it. And you can just use the Heroku CLI. So, but for that to happen, you're going to have to install Heroku. To find out if you have Heroku installed or not, do Heroku the last version, and this is the version that I'm using it. I'm gonna show you with the let's do with this Heroku CLI. So that, but the good thing about GitHub is every time you push your code on your branch, it's gonna deploy automatically. So you should always go with this route if possible. All of the things that it says is, you know, like right here, we're gonna run a Heroku login, and let's do Heroku login. Let's see, I think we have to run the build first. Let's just run an npm run build first so that it creates the production build. Oh, but hold on, is it even tracked on Git? Oh no, it doesn't make sense. We don't have to do that, my bad. Just gonna do a Heroku login, and let's just press any key. So that should open a new tab for me so that I can log in. I just logged in over there. Now we're good here. Just gonna clear that. And what you want to do now is, we are already in this process. So this step is if you are not on your directory, and we don't need to commit anything. I think we can just directly push it to Heroku master. So let's copy that one to, oh no, we have to initialize it. Oh, we need to add the remote. So what you want to do is do git init, and this, what this will do is it will add a remote repository on the Heroku's Git. All right, now I think now we should be able to push it. All right, once you copy that push command, it's gonna build it right here. I think there is a way to see it right here too. While this is deploying, because if you remember, we need to provide a data to our env file, right? So let's do that. So you want to go to settings and go to rebuild config vars, and over here you want to pass the key and value pairs. So I'm going to pass my key, so that's going to be React app search key, and I want to copy the value for that. Let's add that. What's going on? Item name is invalid. How is this name invalid? Okay, because of that space. Wow. And I want to have one more key, which is going to be the search engine key. The value for that is going to be right here. Right now it's building. Once this is done, we're going to have to trigger the build again, so that it runs again, because we added this environment key once the build was started, right? So we want to make sure we want to run it again, because every time you change the environment variables, you have to run the build, or like start the server. Sources, I think there was some place where you could see the logs right here. Let's wait. Let me hydrate myself. I don't know why it's taking so much time. Build is succeed. I'm just gonna make a small change somewhere so that I can push it from here. Sometimes you can do it from Heroku dashboard itself, but sometimes they are super slow, so that's why I just want to push it from here. Right now, if I open the app, we will see the UI person, but our search is not gonna work. If I go to console or network, just type Java. It's just gonna say 400 like bad requests. The reason for that is all of our data, which were in environment variable keys, are undefined at this moment. Let's just add that space. Add commit message equals to Heroku. Now let's do that again. Resources, deploy. I think we can just run this command now, since we already initialized our app. Right now it should start the build again. Build in progress, so let's wait for this one. This is the localhost. Almost there, guys. Okay, while we wait for this one, I have a few recommendations, like or suggestions that you might wanna do, because Gmail provides the Gmail API too. Like the other use case will be the easier one, let's say. So let's say if you want to extend this app a little bit further. Right now I created this on dark mode, right? What you can have is you can have some sort of toggle or button over here, and that will switch from light mode to dark mode. I think that would be the really cool use case you guys can work on if you guys like this project at all. That's my suggestion, or maybe we can do it in the future episodes. Let's see. Oh man, this is taking a long time. Let's see, where are we? Okay, build. So it installed the packages, so it's still building. Okay, now it went through. Now I think it should be fast now. I think that npm I and npm run build are the one, which takes a lot of time. Okay, I think it's done. Okay, now let's try it again. So I'm going to open a dev console and do empty cache and hard reload so that it picks up the latest build. Let's go to network and let's search for Java. There you go. We see Java related stuff. Our app is working as expected. Alright guys, I think that's going to be it for today's video. So if you guys enjoy the content of the channel and if you have any project ideas, let me know in the comments. And other than that, I will catch you on the next video. Thanks. Bye.